How do you unify a theory that encompasses everything from UFOs and orbs of light to poltergeist activity and cryptids? Is SKINWALKER Ranch a 400-acre proving ground for top-secret military technology? Or is the ranch located on a porous border between our dimension and another? Perhaps each and every one of the reports of paranormal phenomenon at the ranch is exaggerated or fabricated. Okay, let's be honest. You know we don't believe that last one. No matter what the answer is, strap in. It's going to be a wild ride.
Hello, and welcome to Unknowable, the podcast where we talk about all things mysterious, unusual, or unknowable. I'm Justine.
And I'm Gray. Some weeks we break down one larger mystery between the two of us. Other weeks we break down two smaller mysteries on a theme and teach each other about them based on our own independent research. If you want to support the show, find us on Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, and review, and become a patron on Patreon.
Yeah.
We've still got these, what are they called?
Block prints.
Block prints. Wow.
Mothman block prints.
Mothman block prints. I just totally blanked there.
Which, if you've been a longtime fan of the show, you'd know that A, we love Mothman.
Yep.
But B, that was our first episode.
First episode and arguably our favorite cryptid.
Arguably, yeah. And we may just have those prints forever because we still don't have 25 patrons.
Right.
So.
Get yours while you can.
Yeah. Get it while you can, which will probably be for the next 6 months. But hurry up. But it's going to be forever.
Please.
Yeah. So.
This week.
We are wrapping up.
The SKINWALKER Ranch suite.
We did not do that on purpose.
No.
No, it just happened.
That's nice.
Yeah, part 3 of SKINWALKER Ranch.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you've been listening, part 1 was breaking down the main family that lived there's experiences.
The Shermans.
The Shermans. Part 2 was breaking down the investigation that happened after they moved. And now, part 3, we're going to talk about theories.
We've basically, these last 2 episodes have been very fact-heavy, where we've just been reporting all of the variety of sightings and strange things that have been going on. And so now we get to kind of just freestyle and riff on what we think has been going on, because there's so much to unpack here. Like,
yeah,
this is one of the topics that is like the hardest for me to like string together and answer for, because there's just such a variety of weirdness. Yeah. Like poltergeists, weird
UFOs.
Lights, UFOs, cryptids, maybe Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Like
weird birds.
Portals to other dimensions.
Hyenas.
Weird birds, giant spiders.
Giant wolves.
Bulletproof wolves.
Skinwalkers. It's basically everything.
Yeah.
So there's really nothing that you can say, oh yeah, it's this one thing explains all of this.
No.
Because literally nothing does.
I have a theory that might kind of tie it all together.
Of course. I knew there was going to be something. I was like, of all the people that could tie all this together.
I've got a theory.
It would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do not, as usual, have a theory.
Well.
There are theories that are interesting.
Yeah.
And I guess there's one that I'm closest to.
Yeah.
But, yeah. But there's a lot.
There's a lot, because there's so many different angles you can take from this. Like, it all kind of depends on what your favorite field of unknowableness is. If you're into UFOs, you think it's aliens. If you're into, like, ley lines and stuff like that, you think it's some kind of, like, atmospheric disturbance.
Yeah.
Or, like, if you're a cryptozoologist, you just think it's all just cryptids and various sightings of strange animals.
They just really like Utah.
Yeah, they really like Utah.
They just love this area. Or if you're more of a conspiracy theorist, you think that it's the government.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're completely not into anything, conspiracy theory or paranormal.
In which case you're listening to the wrong show.
You were listening to the wrong show, but maybe you're trying to open your mind.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But you're probably listening to the wrong show.
Yeah.
You're probably kind of frustrated by us.
You think that this is all a hoax and that this is just...
Yeah.
This family made this shit up for publicity. Yep. And these scientists... I mean, to be fair, the scientists didn't really, didn't find much, but, I mean, the whole,
True.
Like, the whole security camera incident that we discussed at the end of the last episode, that's, that wasn't nothing.
No, that was not nothing. And, I mean, I guess, it could go along with the hoax theory that they didn't prove a whole lot, they didn't document a whole lot, but they saw a lot of stuff.
Right.
Which, again, is all circumstantial. You can believe it or not.
Right.
So I guess that could be our first theory that we talk about, really, is that this was all just a hoax.
Yeah.
So theory number 1, hoax.
Hoax. Basically,
This is fake.
it's all fake. It's all either made up and or exaggerated.
Yep.
It could have all just been normal phenomena, like the lights that the Sherman saw, like the orbs and everything. Those could have just been ball lightning.
Yep.
And they were misidentifying it. The wolves, maybe Papa Sherman isn't as good of a shot as he thinks he is, and he actually wasn't shooting that wolf,
right.
and he was actually just missing over and over again.
Yeah.
And maybe when that wolf like jumped into the creek, it wasn't, like 60 feet away. Maybe it was actually like 10 feet, and he was just exaggerating.
Exactly. And this, is this intentional exaggeration? Is this genuine fear of something that they can't explain, that they, there's a lot of talk about that where you misremember something a bit more dramatically than it actually happened because that's how it felt in the moment.
Right.
And maybe, the fact that there are so many different types of sightings at this property is part of, could go along with the hoax theory in the sense that it's, very disorganized and scattered. They didn't stick to one theme.
Right.
So they just have everything. They, thought of every paranormal weird thing that they could.
Ghosts, Bigfoot.
Yeah. Every, weird stuff happening in the house, Bigfoot, there being, a portal opening up. I mean, they got creative, if that was the case. They really went.
Points for originality.
Yeah, they went real far.
Yeah.
But maybe that, we're seeing UFOs and they're scanning the property and there's a trailer with a person in it. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So, could be that.
It's possible.
Of course, we don't believe this theory.
No.
I never believe the hoax
calling
theory.
something a hoax is always just reductive and lazy.
Yeah.
By just saying that everything is exaggerated or that everything is made up, you're ignoring the fact that they saw something. There's definitely people throughout history who make shit up because they want publicity and they want fame. Yeah. I'm not saying that that's not a thing. Definitely but I think you can parse through someone's stories and figure out when they're just trying to be sensational and when they've seen something and they're genuinely afraid of something.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not a cryptid or aliens or whatever. Maybe it's not what they're saying it is, but they saw something, and to just dismiss it outright as a hoax, I think is lazy. It just means you don't want to do the effort to try to figure out what happened. Yeah.
And I feel a little sad for you in a way that your mind is not open enough to think maybe this is something that we don't understand.
Right.
And really, in all fairness, again, the term UFO literally just means unidentified flying object. That is not any kind of connection to extraterrestrials per se. And as far as I know, they never claimed anything to be supernatural. Really. I mean, they admitted that they couldn't explain a lot. From everything from, finding those weird holes in the ground and the cattle mutilations, but they didn't say, oh, these are aliens. Oh, these are skinwalkers. These are cryptids. Anything like that. They were just what the hell? This is what I saw. This is, they described the things that they saw. The orbs and, what happened with, the dogs being disintegrated and all kinds of stuff. But they never said, oh, this is...
We saw little green men come out of a ship or anything.
Yeah, this is not... Oh, what episode was that? With the little green men.
Oh.
Attacking the house.
Fucking...
That could have been a hoax.
That was... that stretched my belief.
That was, one of the few... Yeah, if you've been listening to the show, you maybe know which episode I'm talking about because I can't even remember.
No.
The Kelly Hopkinsville.
Yes, Kelly Hopkinsville encounter.
Yeah, that was a story that I was okay.
Okay, yeah.
One of the few that I'm all right,
Literal
guys.
Little green man attacking a farmhouse.
Yeah, but this is different, and I don't know. I just don't think. Again, we've talked about this many times before with Mothman, with Kelly Hopkinsville, with all kinds of different sightings that. There is, no circumstance in which people purely make up stuff like this and get lots of money and get famous and everybody loves them. Most of the time, these people are kind of outcasts. In their community. They are definitely criticized. They're laughed at. They are chalked up to be crazy or to be attention seekers or whatever else. There are not generally positive personality traits ascribed to these people. There's obviously going to be some people who are oh, shit. And again, this community in general is a very active community with weird things happening in it. So maybe they had a few more people than usual being oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But even then, I'm sure there are people in the community that have seen stuff that didn't want to say they saw stuff that in their own mind were
Nope.
I feel you, but they were not going to come out and publicize that.
Right.
So most of the time, it just never seems worth it to me to do all this because it's like such a rare instance that anything really comes of it. And this, I guess, could be one of the few because there's a book about it. There's now a movie about it or a documentary about it.
Yeah.
But I have no idea how much, they're benefiting from any of that.
If anything.
Monetarily, yeah, or in any way. So.
And yeah, like even like the sale of the ranch, I'm pretty sure the Shermans sold it to the NIDS for what, like $200,000 ish, and then NIDS sold it to, or Bigelow Aerospace sold it to Adamantium Holdings for like 4.9 million.
For a lot. So
the Shermans didn't make out from this publicity like Bigelow Aerospace did.
Yeah, I have no idea what they paid for the ranch when they bought it, but even if they made a small profit, like that's not worth.
No.
Again, like now they are the people in their community that are the Shermans.
The Shermans.
They're known.
The UFO people or the
crazy
weirdos.
Family.
Yeah.
But and even the investigators mentioned how frazzled the whole family seemed, how hesitant the wife was to come back onto the property.
Yeah.
I think if they did make this up, then they were pretty good actors because they really had people convinced that they were at the end of their rope.
Oh yeah.
And like we talked about with Papa Sherman being totally crazy about finding evidence and laying in ditches in the snow. I mean, that's not something that somebody does to maybe get the tiniest shred of recognition.
Right.
I don't think.
Because anybody outside of the paranormal community does not know who these people are. So they're paranormal famous.
Yeah.
And that's not famous.
It's not really famous. You end up on this podcast and that's about it.
That's about it.
And you have,
And I don't remember your first name. You're just Papa Sherman.
Yeah, I can't. Well, the problem that we had with the names, even with the last name, is that you read stuff online about them and they have one name, but in the book that we read and got a lot of our info from, they use a different name, not their real name.
Right.
So we kept forgetting which one is the real name and which one is the book name.
Yeah.
So we got confused. But Shermans. Yep.
All right. So that's the hoax.
Yep,
theory.
The hoax theory is all fake.
Yep.
Both the family and the investigators faked the whole thing, just for funsies.
And we're all being duped.
We're all duped.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that.
No.
So
I guess connected to the hoax theory would just be the natural phenomenon theory, which is similar in that it's all just kind of misobserved natural phenomena.
Yep.
Ball lightning, regular wolves, just comets and stuff in the sky that account for the UFOs, stuff like that.
Yeah.
There is Fort Dufresne or
Duchesne.
Fort Duchesne right next to the Sherman Ranch. So some of the planes or the UFOs that they saw in the sky could have been misidentified actual military aircraft.
Yep.
So it could all just be easily explainable natural phenomenon.
Yep.
Which I could see for some of it. I'm sure that some of these reports are misidentified natural phenomena.
Yeah, they could be.
But what's natural about those bulls ending up inside of a tiny little trailer?
Exactly. What's natural about perfectly cut holes in the ground?
Yeah, scoops taken out of the ground.
Yeah. What's natural about, even the cattle mutilation, I think could initially on first glance be, an animal came on the farm and there's predators all over. But again, when they investigated these things, the odd smells, the chemical smells, the very precise cutting of these bodies, perfectly spherical holes in the eyes, things like that, and the one we described in the second episode about the completely clean carcass with no blood. That's not natural.
No.
So again, there are parts that can, the rumblings we talked about.
Yep.
That could be, like you were saying earlier about earthquakes or fault lines.
Seismic activity.
Yeah.
Could have been the rumblings under the ground.
Yep.
There's things called earthquake lightning that could have caused, it would have had to have been earthquake ball lightning, which earthquake lightning is rare. Ball lightning is rare. So earthquake ball lightning would have to be super rare.
Yeah.
But maybe the atmospheric conditions are just perfect near Skinwalker Ranch to where that's relatively common, and that could explain some of the orbs of light. So there's definitely parts of it that can be explained, but it doesn't explain away the whole suite of weirdness.
God, no.
And I don't even think that most of it is explained by natural phenomena.
No, I don't think so either. Like, I think some of the creatures seen could be more explained away. Like, again, the wolf. We don't know for sure that wolf was that big. We don't know for sure that he shot that wolf.
Right.
We don't know for sure that wolf jumped 60 feet and disappeared.
Right.
That is all just something that they said, and that could have just been a regular wolf, for all we know.
Right.
But yeah, there are things like, and from what I read about the ball lightning, it seems like it's even more rare, if not even totally possible, that it moves. Like typically that's something that like pops up in one spot.
Yeah.
There's a few different things that have been seen around the country. There's one in particular called like the Garden Light, and it's along like a train track. I can't remember what state it's in, but it's been spotted along this train track, and it's kind of like a light that just appears, and it almost looks like, like a lantern or something that somebody's holding.
Bobbing as someone's walking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is a little more close to what ball lightning could potentially be, that it kind of pops up in one spot and goes away. But from what I read, it seems like it's not very common, if it happens at all, that it would move, like travel around.
Right.
So that kind of, is one of those things where it's like, yeah, okay, somebody saw an orb of light. Ball lightning, sure.
Right.
But then when you're like, oh, it's going over and getting in like a cow's face.
Yes.
And it's chasing people. That seems like much more intentional.
Yeah.
I guess, even than a natural phenomenon. And maybe ball lightning can't even do that.
Yep.
Where it can just move around and travel.
Right.
So.
Speaking of like lights, this is a situation that we didn't actually talk about in the last couple episodes. So while the Shermans were still living on the ranch, Papa Sherman was out doing something with like a rake out in the field, and he saw a ball of light that was up on like the ridge above him that was just sitting there, and he said it felt like it was watching him. And for whatever reason, on this particular evening, he grew impatient, threw down his pitchfork, and ran in the direction of the bright light.
Whoa.
His reaction seemed to catch the light by surprise. The object darted down out of sight behind the ridge. Gorman quickly dove behind a nearby hay bale and burrowed out of sight. He then waited, and within a few minutes, the bright light flew low over the field and began flying back and forth, looking for him, but it couldn't find him. And after several minutes of quartering the area, the object flew towards the ridge. And Gorman climbed out of his hiding place and began shouting and taunting the object.
Wow.
He then said the light blinked several times on and off and then flew away.
See,
that's not ball lightning.
No, that is not a natural phenomenon. Right. Natural phenomenon does not quarter the area that you just hid in to find you.
Or like duck out of sight because you start running at it.
Yeah. Which, again, proof that Papa Sherman just was losing his shit at some point.
He was losing his shit.
He's just like, I'm fucking coming for you. Yeah. So, I don't know. I think the natural phenomenon thing is a little lazy.
It definitely explains maybe a few of the things that were observed.
Yeah. A few of the things. But, there are also things like Mama Sherman being in the kitchen, unpacking the groceries, leaving the room for 5 minutes and coming back and everything being back in the bags.
Yes.
There's nothing natural that explains that.
No.
The various, like, very heavy pieces of farming equipment that moved or it landed in a tree, 70-pound piece of equipment in a tree that you just saw 2 minutes ago, like that is not natural.
No.
So, yeah, if anybody goes with natural, I think you have to at least concede that sure, maybe like a quarter of it could be natural.
Right.
Maybe a third.
Yeah.
But then you've got this whole huge chunk of stuff where you're just like, nothing explains that.
No.
So, yeah.
I think hoax and natural phenomenon, that's kind of like one theory that is a combination of both. Them making shit up and it being natural phenomenon that's been misobserved.
Yeah. It's just a misunderstanding. So a third theory, of course, is that the objects that they saw flying, the UFOs, were extraterrestrial in nature.
Yes.
These are aliens of some kind. Some type of beings from a different planet, a different solar system, whatever.
Yeah.
Coming to this area, and unclear why this particular area. Obviously, UFOs are seen everywhere, so this is not unique. But again, there have been UFO sightings in this particular small area for years and years.
Yeah.
If their experience was in the 90s, there had been UFO sightings since the 50s, maybe.
Right.
And pretty consistently for a good, 20 years there.
Right.
So this is not a new thing. So for some reason, these aliens are really digging this area.
Right.
They're coming here to, that would explain a lot of the odd crafts that they saw.
Yep.
The flying triangles, the flying refrigerators, the flying trailers.
Yeah.
That would explain, the mother of the family seeing that being in a trailer outside, kind of observing.
Yep.
That explains the cattle mutilations.
Yeah.
That has been a well-known thing that's linked to UFO activity.
Yeah.
In the sense that maybe, they're studying.
Like scientific observation.
Yeah.
It's exactly what we would do if we found another civilization or another planet.
Exactly.
We would observe from a distance. We would try to keep away so that they wouldn't know that we're watching them, and then we'd take samples of soil, which would be like the scoops in the ground.
Yep.
And samples of like the wildlife, which they could definitely collect plants without us noticing. The cattle, probably taking samples of like their organs and their reproductive organs and stuff, because they're trying to study that would be like the most interesting and complex thing, is how we replicate.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it explains a lot. Could potentially explain the balls of light.
Yeah.
As both the ones they see in the sky, as the crafts potentially, and then the ones that they see closer, like we talked about in one of the episodes, of those could be some type of drone situation where they're sending either, those could be technological or they could be biological for their, whatever their species is, whatever their form is. We don't know. We don't know what's in those craft. Like maybe they are just big balls of light, and those are some of them coming to be like, yo,
what's up?
What's up? So we have no idea. Which I think would explain a decent amount.
Yeah.
Again, even the UFO thing doesn't explain everything. I'm not sure how to put the UFO theory together with, the giant wolf, the Bigfoot.
Yeah.
The odd, strange birds.
Yep.
Seemingly flying, when they mentioned, a bird coming by, almost hitting them type of thing. What are those?
Mm-hmm. Or the groceries getting unpacked.
Right. Is that just... Clearly, these extraterrestrials have the ability to do things very quickly.
Right.
If we're looking into the cattle mutilations, a lot of those, again, happened within a span of 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Right.
When that wouldn't have been possible, even by humans, by animals, by anything.
Right.
So clearly they have some type of, whether they can cloak themselves, can they work at, super fast speeds, can they be invisible?
Can they, just slow down or, pause time in some way? Maybe their experience of time is different than ours.
Yeah.
They could be our experience of time is all tied to the transit of the Earth around the sun and then the spinning of the Earth on its axis. So that's how we perceive time. But maybe beings that are from a different solar system with a different experience of time that isn't connected to a 24-hour day or a 365 year, they would experience time much faster than we do, so they could move faster. Like how a hummingbird, I bet, a hummingbird compared to us, a hummingbird's experience of time is probably a whole lot faster than ours.
Right.
So
it reminds me of an episode of Star Trek. Star Trek originals. Wait, was it the original? Yeah, I think it was the original series. I don't remember if it was a different species or something that had happened to some people, but essentially they were thrown into moving crazy fast, so fast that you couldn't even perceive it on our normal timeline. And if I'm remembering correctly, I haven't seen the series in a while, but if I'm remembering correctly, I think Captain Kirk got shifted into this somehow. And it was really frustrating because he couldn't get anybody's attention because he literally barely made the same noise that a mosquito buzz would make, and that was him trying to talk.
Right.
But everything was so sped up that you couldn't hear him, you couldn't see him. It was crazy. So for him, in his version of reality at that moment, everybody was basically frozen. They weren't even moving slowly, they were statues.
Right.
That's how much faster he was moving.
Wow.
So that's how I'm picturing these aliens.
Exactly.
Is they're doing their stuff so quickly that they're just in and out.
Right.
That maybe even if you happen to be looking at the cattle when it was happening, you wouldn't even see them.
Right.
You would just see something is wrong with that cattle.
Right.
And then all of a sudden they're dead, but nobody happened to see it happening. But just maybe that's kind of how it's working, is that they're moving so fast that we can't even perceive it.
And that could explain how the groceries ended up repacked. It's more of just a question of why.
Right. Yeah, is this part of the, as we kind of talked about, is this part of just the observation? Are they just experimenting?
Right. Trying to like give us like strange stimuli to see how we react to it.
Yeah. Which, again, it does make sense in a way. I think that part makes sense, whether maybe the argument is just who is doing it.
Right.
But the observational experimentation part makes some sense because, as we said, it seemed to be much more active when it was just the family that was experiencing it. And yes, Papa Sherman was trying to find stuff, but he was still being very stealth.
Yeah.
When the investigation team came in, things slowed.
Yeah.
So as you had said, maybe they were kind of turned off by like, oh, we don't want to
be observed.
Yeah, we don't want to be observed. We don't want to observe people that are observing us.
Right.
We just want to observe a family.
In like their natural habitat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that, I think, explains more.
UFOs is definitely, I think, or not extraterrestrials. I
Yeah.
think is a pretty decent explanation for, I'd say about 90 to 95%.
Oh yeah.
Of this phenomena.
Yeah, it explains the crafts. It explains that the trailer, and it definitely explains a lot because there is that overarching theme, I think, of like him chasing that light and it disappearing, but then trying to find him.
Right.
Him getting close to that triangular craft and then it noticing him and flying away. Very much like beings coming here to observe that don't want to be noticed.
Right.
And they aren't doing a great job because they obviously saw quite a lot, but still,
right.
They are trying their best to be stealthy.
Right.
They're not just busting in, which is a theme overall of extraterrestrials in general.
Yeah.
Typically, they aren't really showing themselves. They aren't being too obvious.
Right.
I guess they're trying to stay behind some type of veil.
They're trying. And I think that they were talking about how they noticed that they would find mutilated cattle the morning after like a bad storm, or if it was like raining really bad the night before.
Yeah.
And that would be like another sense of like cover, is like waiting for like bad weather, and so they could operate without being seen more because it would be raining and storming.
Yeah.
So,
and there was a connection with the mutilation and seeing lights in the sky too.
Right.
So, yeah.
There's something going on there.
There's something's going on. So there of course is the theory of government experimentation.
Yes. This is an interesting one.
Yeah, I would say so. It's, I don't know, that definitely opens up a big question of, an even bigger question, I think, of why.
Right.
I think extraterrestrials make more sense if we're going to assume that they don't live here.
Right.
We are somewhat foreign beings to them.
Right.
And they're trying to learn. We're assuming that humans in the government know plenty about people.
Right.
So I think the government thing is always much darker and more, I don't know, a little more evil because they don't need to learn anything about us. That means that they're trying to gain something for their own benefit at the expense of other humans.
Right.
So
my thoughts on if it were the government doing it would be that they're still experimenting, but the purpose of the experimentation is different. They're, rather than just trying to observe humans, they're testing weapons and technology on humans. So like, for example, the cattle mutilation would be them trying to test some kind of strange weapon, some kind of weapon that does awful things to living things, like that exsanguinates them and
just
rips
terrible
out their,
things very quickly.
Their whole like digestive tract.
Yeah, and their butt.
And like the flying the different planes and stuff in there is just trying to like, you know, they're testing some kind of like strange military technology, and maybe doing it on this ranch because they can see how humans react to it, but more so they can see if they're noticed. You know what I mean? Like they're trying to stay stealthy and still do these like strange operations and see how they can do it without being noticed.
Yeah.
So I can kind of get behind the government thing. There's a lot of leaps you have to take, and you have to believe that like human technology has advanced so far beyond what we think it's advanced to, and the government has really kept a good lid on that, which I'm not saying is out of the realm of possibility, but the leaps and bounds that the technology described at SKINWALKER RANCH is like way ahead of anything that we think we have right now.
Oh yeah, way ahead. And again, there are things I think that don't get explained by the government thing, which again, going back to the various animals scene, what the hell is that? Like, are they potentially experimenting on animals that exist?
Genetic engineering?
I literally didn't think of that till this moment.
Interesting.
Yeah. So maybe they, experimented on some wolf to see if they can, I don't know what benefit that necessarily has for the government aside from just doing experiments maybe on animals that they will eventually do on humans.
Right.
To see if they can
make it bulletproof.
Yeah.
But then again, like if you make a bulletproof wolf and you want to test to make sure it's bulletproof, why would you release it onto this property and hope that it comes in contact with somebody who will then shoot it?
Right.
When you could just shoot it.
Exactly.
Like you could just have a soldier go and shoot it and see if it's bulletproof.
Exactly.
It doesn't seem...
Things like that seem weird.
Yeah, it's like really roundabout. Or the whole like unpacking the groceries thing.
Right. Yeah,
unless
is that just...
there's some kind of stealth technology involved
exactly.
that they're able to manipulate time. And I just wanted to see if it would work.
Exactly. They can manipulate time, and again, maybe they can manipulate their speed or their visibility.
And maybe that's like a really low stakes test outside of laboratory conditions. Like you're not in the ideal circumstances. You're still essentially carrying out a mission where you can't get seen.
Yeah.
But the stakes are super low.
Exactly. Because ultimately, with a lot of the government stuff, I feel like, and I know this gets very X-Files, but that's kind of the world that we live in. I mean, the world that you and I live in.
I live in that world.
Not most people. But very much like, I always thought of it as low stakes in the sense that even if your technology failed in that moment and like they saw you, who's going to believe them?
Right.
Like, who's going to believe if you were like, oh yeah, some government agent was in my house on my ranch in the middle of Utah and was packing my groceries away again.
Right. Exactly. It's so absurd that nobody would believe it.
It's insane. Like, all of it is like, if they were testing that same technology, again, with the farm equipment, putting it in the trees or putting those bulls in that trailer, like, if somebody were to catch them, there's no chance that there's gonna be any consequences for anybody.
You could go to the New York Times and say that and they'll be like, okay, dude.
Yeah, great. Cool. So, which, that could go into like a whole deeper theory of like, this is why so many people are skeptical about paranormal stuff in general, because the government has made it that way so that they can get away with anything, anytime.
It's a big theory that it's all misinformation and it's purposely ridiculous so that it makes UFO researchers and paranormal researchers look ridiculous.
Exactly. So nobody really believes them, and the people that do generally don't matter.
Right.
Until you get somebody like Robert Bigelow involved with millions of dollars. But generally, people like us don't matter. That we believe this stuff and we feel like we see behind some type of cover. Nobody believes us either.
Right.
Really. So that, I think, that could make some sense. I think I like that theory less because I do tend to like paranormal stuff more.
Yeah.
So, but still,
I also don't like, if you think about the guy who like started meditating on the property and something rushed out of the woods and like rushed him, like why would the US government be against people like meditating?
Right.
And why would that elicit such a strong response?
Yeah. Exactly. Like the government thing still doesn't explain away everything for me.
No.
Including, I mean, the big thing for me, I think, with that would be I guess kind of like them seeing the various portals that they saw.
Which that could be like...
Obviously could be its own thing.
Yeah, that could be like some sort of, like... Oh, I want to use the word Stargate, but that's terrible.
That's terrible.
Some kind of wormhole, like some sort of like transportation device where you go into one hole and you come out the other side and you're in somewhere totally different, like some kind of like not interdimensional travel, but some kind of like traveling through a wormhole, collapsing space and time, which again would be like insanely advanced technology. Yeah,
exactly. Like that's the thing that's crazy is that even the aircraft in general, like just aircraft that can move the way that those do and be as quiet as those are, that already is like beyond what people are aware of existing. So when you get into biologically manipulating animals and going completely stealth to move things. I mean, this is all way beyond anything that we think, like not even that we think the government can do, but that we think is possible.
Yeah, like just like from the laws of physics.
Yeah. So I would say, the government thing maybe explains a lot. It doesn't totally explain why.
The other part about it too that kind of makes sense would be, so the rumblings underground that they heard. could be the sounds of a subterranean military base.
True.
So if you think about the most famous military base where they test experimental aircraft and technology is Area 51. And the fact that you know what Area 51 is, where it is, you can go on Google Maps and look at Area 51.
Yeah.
So that's like totally blown up at this point. Like there's probably not very much secret experimentation that goes on, especially like in the air around Area 51 now because it's such a hot spot. So maybe Area 51 is just kind of like a cover, and they still like pretend like it's all super secret there when it's really not that secret. And they had to move their secret operations base somewhere else, relatively close. Utah, still in the desert. You still have the advantage of wide open spaces to test your planes in.
Yep.
You have Fort Duquesne right there. That could just be the entrance to a larger subterranean military base where they're working on this secret stealth technology. That would kind of be the best place to have your military base where you're building, UFO level secret technology would be underground so that you can't photograph it from space, especially now in the Google Maps age when you don't need to have a spy satellite to take pictures.
Exactly.
So that makes sense to me as well.
Yeah.
And why they heard those subterranean rumblings.
Right. Which again, who's going to believe that? Who's going to investigate that? They're going to go right with that, we're on a fault line. Oh, it's earthquake activity.
Super easily explainable.
Or just, you're hearing something, that was thunder, that was whatever. They're not nobody's going to be like, okay, we're going to go dig underground and find this. And then even if they did, if the government is powerful enough to do this kind of thing, no average person is going to just be like, found you.
No.
And then like, oh, now the world knows.
Shit.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah, damn, the government one makes more sense than I thought it was going to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, merging the two, there's also a theory that, of course, and there's always a theory in general that the government is aware of alien existence, of many of the UFO sightings, as much as they write all that stuff off as some other thing, natural phenomenon, weather balloons, whatever.
Right.
That they are aware that there are aliens,
Yep.
that they have crazy technology, that they have come to Earth,
Yep.
probably more than we even know, and that they are using some of that alien technology. Again, this is X-Files, but also just general theory, that, they are using that technology to form their own weapons, biological warfare, aircraft, all that kind of stuff. Possibly at the expense of the aliens. I don't want to go as far as thinking that they're like working together, but more that they perhaps just know that they've been here. They've taken aliens and ships into their possession in order to keep all this secret from the public.
Yeah.
Less for the public's protection, more for their own gain.
Yeah.
Because, of course, we want to have the wildest weapons and technology that we can.
Especially during like the Cold War when we were trying to fight the Soviets.
Yeah. Totally. We want to have some crazy shit.
There's actually, I wish I remember who it was. There's somebody who was involved in President Eisenhower's administration. Maybe it was one of Eisenhower's kids, like one of his children, who said that Eisenhower entered into a pact with, like he signed a peace agreement with a alien species.
Awesome.
And that we have like a non-aggression pact.
Damn.
And that he didn't really want to sign it, but that he really had no other choice because they were they were here and were going to be doing what they were doing anyway, so we might as well make peace with them so that they wouldn't make peace with the Soviets first.
That's deep X-Files.
Deep X-Files. And it's somebody who's like really well connected to President Eisenhower.
Dang.
So.
I believe it.
Yeah. It's very possible.
I'm just like, yep.
Gotta be.
That's totally.
How could it be fake?
It couldn't be fake. So, yeah, that kind of merges still conspiracy theory with a dash of paranormal.
Yeah.
And I've always kind of thought that seemed plausible to me. That, again, just like in the X-Files, everything is the X-Files.
Yes.
But, just like Mulder creeping around a bush in the fog in the woods, because it's like always foggy in the woods in the X-Files for some reason, because it looks cool. And he's watching, men in like the full white, like hazmat looking suits, cleaning up a UFO crash that they're telling the small like logging community was just, oh no, a truck crashed with like dangerous chemicals. We got to clean. Nobody can come over here. We got to clean it up. But really, it was an alien crash.
They're recovering the bodies.
Yeah, they're recovering the bodies, and they're taking them somewhere, and they're going to research them and experiment on them before they kill those aliens because they can't risk the public knowing.
Yep.
Because it would be mass hysteria, it would be suspicion, it would be confirmation. So they got to keep it all under wraps.
It could all go back to Roswell.
Exactly.
Someday. We'll do the Roswell episode.
Exactly, yeah. We're going to do a Roswell episode. So that, I think, makes a lot of sense. It's just the added layer of, like, the government being aware of there being something unusual and taking advantage of it for their own developments.
Yeah.
Because clearly these aliens have much more sophisticated technology than we do.
Right.
Maybe resources that we don't even have.
Right.
Who the hell knows?
Things that we don't even know that we don't know.
Exactly. So, God, who even knows?
Yeah.
What could be going on with that? So, yeah, that's theory 5, is government plus extraterrestrials.
Yeah.
It's a good blend.
That is a good blend.
It's
It explains a lot, but it also still does not explain 100%.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. But it's a good potential mashup.
90 to 95%.
Yeah. It's a collaboration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Collabo.
Yeah. So what other theories are
there? Those are kind of the main ones. Governments, aliens, military. My personal theory. So I'm just gonna go for it.
Yeah, just go for it.
Okay. So my personal theory is that SKINWALKER RANCH exists on some kind of border between our reality and or dimension and another parallel reality and or dimension.
That's good, because that was technically the last theory.
Oh, perfect.
Portal to another dimension.
Portal to another dimension.
Yeah.
That's what I'm banking on. So the idea would be that I touched on this in the Mothman episode, actually, about the idea of the Mothman is a being from a reality that's very similar to our own in that it has the same gravity, oxygen, just general laws of physics and stuff. And there are thin places in our reality where that parallel reality and ours, things are able to go between the realities. They're able to cross over, either on purpose or accidental. Like it just kind of like if the border between the two realities kind of shifts and there's things in the middle that just kind of flip-flop between our reality and the other one.
Yeah.
And all these beings, the bulletproof wolf, the strange cryptids, the ships that are coming out of the portal in the sky, the creatures that are crawling out of the portal along the ground, those are all just coming out of the other dimension and crossing into our own reality.
Yeah.
And with that would be shifts in the space-time continuum, or like shifts in just time in general. So say, for example, the Mama Sherman putting away the groceries, puts away the groceries, she leaves the room, and then a time ripple happens, and time goes, time reverses, or like, if you think of like, on a YouTube video of like the little cursor that shows where you are on the timeline, once she leaves the room, the little thing skips back 5 seconds or 30 minutes or an hour or whatever.
Yeah.
And it starts playing again from where it was. And so it skips back to before she put the groceries down.
Yep.
So this whole just time disturbance and like dimensional disturbances explains the creatures, the strange things disappearing after they put them down, because it's just like time resetting or time jumping back to a different starting point. And then the ships that they see are either coming from the other dimension and just doing what they normally do. I don't know what they would be doing in that other dimension. Who knows?
Right, yeah, who knows?
Or they're looking specifically for the creatures that are coming into our reality.
Exactly.
Which is what I thought Indrid Cold was in the Mothman episode. He's a man, like the Men in Black are people either from our dimension or the other dimension, or maybe a mixture of both, who it's their job to hunt down creatures that have crossed from one dimension to the other.
Yeah.
And they have to bring them back to their home dimension or just kill them.
Yep.
So those ships that they always see that are just kind of hovering low over the ground with like the disco lights that are searching for something or quartering the ground are looking for these creatures that have crossed over from their dimension into ours.
Yep. Because again, these could be coming in by accident and oops, we're lost.
Right.
They could be coming in on purpose.
Right.
Maybe those creatures coming in are doing the mutilations, which again isn't necessarily a evil thing, malevolent thing. Maybe they're just oh cool, let's see what this is all about.
They could be feeding
Right.
on the cows and stuff.
Yeah, we have no idea. But then these people are coming in like, dude, gotta get back over there. Cut the shit, man.
Cut the shit.
Stop coming over here.
Right.
This isn't your dimension. Which I think does a lot to explain the fact that, like, again, the wolf was seen for weeks and then never again.
Yeah.
Even that weird, like, hyena thing was just seen, like, that one time.
And it was gone.
Those odd birds, you know, were seen, the spiders.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that was just seen for a very short time and then never made another appearance.
Right.
So maybe that was something, you know, like, oops, they got in. We rounded them up. Wow. That was something. We rounded them all up and then brought them back. And then now they're gone. So...
Think about Mama Sherman standing at the sink washing the dishes when she saw that being watching her from the trailer.
Yeah.
So she thought that it was looking at her.
Right.
She couldn't see the outside of her building.
True.
Who knows? There could have been something on her roof. There could have been something in front of the house. Something that she couldn't see. So she assumed that it was watching her.
Yeah.
When it could have been observing, looking for some other creature that was lurking around her house.
True. Which again, it would explain a lot about why the crafts are trying to evade the people. Why a lot of the stuff that they saw seemed to be split between, you know, animals being kind of curious about them, like that wolf was definitely kind of into them. He was like, yo. He was also into the cattle, but he was friendly.
Right.
Weirdly enough. And so that could be, a mix of like, there are creatures coming in like that are like, ooh, what's this place? Like, who are you? And then another mix of people in the crafts or other beings that are trying to round them up.
Right.
That are like, God damn it. Get back over here.
Come on. Yeah. Just like animal control, basically, but like from interdimensional animal control.
Exactly. Like that thing that crawled out of the portal. Like somebody probably came for him later and they were like, dude, you can't even walk.
Right.
You crawled in here? Why?
Come on.
Get back here.
Yeah.
So
and it would tell me that the other dimension is similar enough to our own that these creatures are able to recognize and feed on animals from our reality.
Yeah.
They can breathe our air. They can live in our atmosphere. They are able to navigate, like their bones aren't crushed when they come here, so the gravity must be the same.
Yeah.
So it could be like, if anybody's ever watched Rick and Morty, the idea of like the multiverse, how there's an infinite number of universes, and some of them are wildly and vastly different from ours, and some of them are just slightly off.
Yeah.
To where, like, you know, if you flip a coin, there's two universes, one where it lands heads and one where it lands tails. Everything else is exactly the same, except for that coin flip and the outcome of that coin flip.
Right.
So the idea is that it's just similar enough, but clearly pretty fucking different.
Pretty different. Like, I would not really want to go there.
No.
Not so much. If all that stuff is there.
And that could also explain a lot of things, like people, you know, disappearing.
Yeah.
Malaysia, that Malaysian air flight.
Oh, yeah.
Could have just accidentally just, like, flipped into the other dimension. Like, just, it's flying on its path through no like, fault of its own or no purpose of its own. It just all of a sudden ends up in another dimension.
Right. We talked about this with Bigfoot being a potentially interdimensional creature, with Mothman, with the Bennington Triangle, with a lot of people disappearing with no finding of them later. That this is just people just accidentally slipping into another dimension.
The man from Torrid. Yeah.
And maybe some of these people, I mean, maybe the reason why some people disappear and come back, some people don't, that, like you just said, some of these other dimensions are very, very similar enough that you could just end up there and just be like, okay. But some maybe are so different that, like, what if somebody slipped into another dimension and their bones got crushed from the gravity and then now they're dead. And we had talked about this a little bit with what was that episode? With the hikers on the mountain in the snow. Oh,
Dyatlov Pass?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like with those people that they found dead, like with unexplainable injuries. What if that was like, oops, I slipped into this dimension.
Died of some strange, your bones get crushed.
Exactly. Some huge force and then slipped back into this dimension. And now we're like, what the hell caused that?
How did this happen? Yeah.
Because we're not thinking of different dimensions. Right. Why are investigators not thinking of different dimensions?
This even explains the Mandela effect too.
Yeah.
You slip into another dimension and all of a sudden Berenstain Bears is Berenstain Bears. Something as small as that.
One of those books at Target the other day, and I was so mad because I just glanced at it and I'm like, that looks so wrong. And I just feel like I would have noticed that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, throughout my whole life, I've always been a person who has seen things actually spelled wrong and things that just looked like they were spelled wrong. Like, that's always bothered me.
Yeah.
I'm like always the person who's like, oh, there's a typo in that. And Nate's like, what?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, right there. Like, I saw it first thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, I feel like even as a kid, I would have been like, Berenstain? Like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Why do we all pronounce it Berenstain?
Right.
We all that dumb?
Because we slipped into another dimension.
Exactly. And we're still there.
Some of us slipped into another dimension. Because there's some people who always remember being Berenstain.
That's true.
So there's...
So have they always been in the shitty universe? Because I feel like this is the shitty universe. In a lot of ways.
Where Donald Trump got elected.
Yeah, it's good in a lot of ways, too. So I'm hesitant to say that almost because a lot of things are good, but a lot of things are shitty, too.
Yes.
A lot of things are, at the very least, they are incomprehensibly bad in a way that you're just like, this can't be real life.
Exactly.
Like Trump being president. Like everything that's happening right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think the other dimension theory for me matches most closely with everything. I think it explains most everything. There's one tiny sub-theory to that. So there's SKINWALKERRANCH.org, which is a website that basically documents all the entities that have been reported there.
Go check it out because it's really cool.
It's super cool. And there is an entity described as the Dark One, which is a rare entity. But the theory is that this being is maybe human, like a shaman, trapped in an alternate timeline. And so some people believe that he's the one who opened the portal to begin with.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he, she, it, I don't know what
the
Dark One is. But yeah, so that's like a nice little like niche sub-theory to that.
Yeah, interesting.
General theory.
Yeah, so the whole, so like the whole skinwalkers and the idea of like Native American sort of tales and religion.
Yeah.
Like, are the skinwalkers from this other dimension? Are they humans that are able to traverse into the other dimension on purpose? Is it magic? Is it science? Is it...
Because the whole idea is that the area is cursed.
Yeah, the area is cursed. Maybe it's cursed as in it's always been known to be a thin place where these things come back and forth, and maybe there are some humans that have figured out how to purposely traverse into the alternate dimension.
Yeah.
And gain something. Yeah. Some kind of like the ability to...
Powers.
Yeah. One of my thoughts was that like how you were talking about with like the orbs of light being like the aliens. Imagine if the orbs of light are the beings from the other dimension. That's their sort of true form.
Yeah.
And they're able to, through like biomimicry, to mimic the things that they see in our world.
Right.
So they see a wolf out in the desert and they turn into the wolf, but it still maintains all of its ability to like be bulletproof and like fly, or maybe so that those wolf tracks that was going towards the lake or towards the river. So it's walking as a wolf, and then it just turns into that orb and flies away.
Yep.
And that's why the footprints stop.
Yeah.
So maybe the ball of light is their true form, and they're able to turn into those strange like creatures and stuff because they see it here.
Exactly.
Which would mean that Bigfoot exists in our dimension, and they witnessed it and biomimicked it.
Yeah. And they maybe even like we talked about with Injured Cold being a being from another dimension that is trying to mimic us but isn't quite doing the greatest job.
Right.
So like they're mimicking animals and they're like, oh yeah, like a wolf. Sure. But then they're like, oh oops, like
the head's too big.
Yeah, it's way too big. That could explain, the birds even like flying way too close to people or the odd like tropical birds.
Yeah.
Like who knows, maybe they saw those tropical birds somewhere else.
Right.
And they were just like, oh yeah, we'll just be these like bright red birds.
Right.
Not realizing like those don't live in Utah.
Right.
So they're just like, oh shit. And then
there's birds in this reality.
Yeah. There's birds that look like this. Yeah. Like giant like parrot looking birds. Sure. We'll just do that. So that could be the hyena thing. Like it was kind of, with this big bushy tail.
Yeah, it's like
really
a
muscular. It's like
animal.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a weird somebody crossed 2 or 3 animals together. So it's like they're getting their stuff all confused.
Right.
Just like Injured Cold's like, yeah, there's people that wear like metallic suits, right?
Right.
Definitely seen that somewhere. It's not a thing I made up.
Right.
Or even the Men in Black.
Yeah.
In general are always kind of, they're just off.
If you think of if Roswell was the sort of the time when either the UFOs from extraterrestrials crashed here, or maybe us detonating the atomic bombs during World War II ripped open this space-time continuum.
Yep.
Because, we did test I think the Trinity test was 1945 in Nevada, which is very close to Utah.
Yeah.
So that could have ripped a hole in the space-time continuum.
Oops.
And so if that all happened in 1947, that's when all these things start pouring across the border from one
Lots
dimension to the
of
other.
UFO sightings in
And
the 50s.
that's when the U.S. government and this other dimensional government got together, and they're like, all right, we need to like hunt these things down and bring them back to their respective dimensions.
Yeah.
Since that was all happened in the 1940s and 50s, that's why the Men in Black still dress like they're in the 1940s and 50s,
Exactly.
wearing these old ass suits, because that's the last contact they had with us.
Yeah. And they just haven't gotten the human thing quite right, so they're trying to,
Right.
they're being weird eating. What was he eating? Like that bowl of Jello or something?
Oh yeah.
It's like,
He was just like sucking it though, like
yeah, like trying to like drink it or
Yeah.
something. And they like don't look quite. Their skin's not quite right. Nothing's like quite
yeah.
right, but also not off enough that you'd be like,
Mhm.
that's an alien.
It's like the uncanny valley with like artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Something's like 95% there, but it's that 5% difference that makes all the difference.
Oh yeah. Well, they have those things like online now where you can do the quizzes where it's like you're trying to pick which one's a real photo and which one's artificial.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, there is something I did one. It was only like a handful of them, but it was pretty obvious which one was fake, and you couldn't really pin why. It didn't look. There was nothing that I could point to be like, oh yeah, that looks fake.
Right.
It was just like you just had a feeling like, no, that one's not quite. And it's like, what could you recognize about it? I don't know. I mean, the Men in Black being described by witnesses had a little bit more obvious.
Right.
Their skin looking really white and plasticky. I mean, that's
No hair.
yeah, like no eyebrows and stuff. So that's like a little more obvious. But the same idea that they're getting close, despite the fact that they've seen humans
Right.
up close, like dudes.
But like
Work it out. But
hard. I mean, we look
hard.
at us. We've seen humans
yeah,
up close, and we still can't quite make robots or anything that look
that's true.
indistinguishable from humans.
Yeah, think about like if you sat down to like draw a person right now.
Right.
It would look generally like a person.
Yeah.
Even and
Like-
you're good at
yeah.
art and drawing, and you still it wouldn't look
No.
realistic.
Photorealistic,
Yeah. Like very few people can do that, and even then,
Yeah.
it still doesn't look quite right. So it's like there's something impossible to capture there.
Exactly.
So
Humans are complex.
humans are complex, and that's I mean, as dumb as we are in a lot of ways, we are complex in a lot of ways too.
Mhm.
So it would make sense maybe these other beings would want to scope us out and be like, what's going on here?
What's going on?
Maybe they want to scope us out because we're so fucking dumb.
Right.
They're like, you guys are capable of a lot.
Yeah.
You should be way beyond where you are
Humans
now.
are the smartest, dumbest animals we've ever seen.
Yeah, they are super smart. They should be way more advanced socially, technologically, everything.
Yeah.
And yet they're like stuck right here. Like, what is going wrong?
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So there's, on one hand, a slight ramp of weird things happening. And on the other hand, there's a big decline because there's a lot of beings that are just like, not wasting my time on that.
Yeah.
There's way smarter planets out there.
Exactly.
We're going to go there instead. So, yeah, I like the other dimension portal. Again, and also because that was seen.
Yeah. Right.
They
exactly.
literally saw several instances of what looked like a portal opening and either a creature crawling out, a ship flying out.
Mhm.
So,
I think that makes the most
I think
sense.
it works.
And
yeah.
part of the reason we really wanted to take our time with SKINWALKER Ranch and break it into 3 episodes is because we really wanted to have this be a foundational episode where we talk about the idea of interdimensional travel between like worlds, because this is going to be something that we're going to bring up a lot
Oh, yeah.
in talking about unknowable subjects.
And every single one of these types of encounters, too.
Yeah.
Everything that happened, and then, yeah, the portals and everything is kind of a base.
Yeah. This is all just like we're gonna reference SKINWALKER Ranch a lot.
Yeah, we already have.
We already have.
I feel like
before
we've
we did
mentioned
this episode.
SKINWALKER Ranch in like half of our episodes.
Yeah. Right.
Like, it's coming. And now it's here.
Now it's here.
And now it's done.
It's done.
Yeah.
It's
So,
wild.
I definitely
There's-
think for me, the dimension thing is my strongest.
That's my vote.
Yeah.
And it even kind of ties them all together, because you could say that the U.S. government is in cahoots with the interdimensional government, and
Right.
they're both hunting down these strange creatures.
Exactly. We still
And-
technically have aliens in there because these other people from the dimension are technically aliens to
Right?
us.
They're from a different planet.
Yeah.
Just in a different dimension.
Yep.
There could still be a subterranean military base under Fort Duquesne.
Duchesne.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if they know that there's this portal
Mhm.
and they're kind of in cahoots, then they could have a base there to. They
would
could
make
still be
sense.
doing studies.
Oh yeah.
This could be a mix of people coming from the other dimension studying, the government studying, all together.
A little bit of everything.
There could still have been a dark one or some type of single being that opened this portal.
Mhm.
Really, yeah. The only thing it doesn't really tie in is the hoax / natural phenomenon theories,
Mhm.
which those are bullshit anyways.
Right. Exactly.
Those are always bullshit.
Bullshit.
But, yeah. So, again, don't go there. Do not go there.
Do not go.
For legal reasons and for your own safety.
Yes.
I did, on one of the threads that I found, it was like some SKINWALKER RANCH forum. And they were talking about their various theories, which is where I learned about the dark one. But there was somebody on that thread that said that they like gave up everything in their life to move to this basin in Utah to study SKINWALKER RANCH.
Wow.
And I was like, dang, dude.
It's
intense.
Dedication.
Yeah. So this guy's out there studying stuff.
Good for him.
Yeah. I mean, it's wild.
Right.
I wouldn't.
Like, is it good for him?
I don't know if it's good for him.
I don't want to be anywhere near this.
It's going well so far for him, I guess.
Like those researchers talking about when they were out at night and then they see this portal open and some strange creature crawl out of it and then they're like, now we're just out here with whatever that was.
Exactly. Like we have no idea what just came here.
Right.
Yeah, I'm all set with that.
No, I'm good.
Yeah. Again, we talk a lot of talk about all this stuff. Haunted places and like portals to hell and other dimensions. And realistically, would I want to encounter most of this stuff? Probably not.
No, I don't think there's any of this.
Even like I wouldn't mind, like it'd be cool to see a UFO. I definitely don't want to be like up close with one.
Right.
I don't want to deal with like the crazy radiation.
No.
I don't want to be abducted.
No.
And
definitely not.
Whatever the heck that they do. So pretty much everything we talk about is like cool in theory for me.
Right.
I don't want to go find it.
No.
But yeah. SKINWALKER RANCH.
SKINWALKER RANCH is done.
Part 3 is done. It's crazy. This has been weeks of SKINWALKER RANCH.
Weeks.
So now we are moving on to, I don't even know what.
Right.
We don't even know what the next topic is.
We don't.
That's part of the fun.
That's the fun.
For us and for you guys.
Yes.
Just know that you're as in the dark as we are.
Exactly.
Most of the time.
Most of the time.
We're just like, what are we going to do next week? I don't know.
We'll figure it out.
So don't forget, we're now in every other week format.
Yep.
That's just how things got to be. We're busy people.
I think it works. I think it gives us time to kind of fully digest a topic.
Exactly. Yeah, we felt a little bit rushed before with some of our bigger topics. We definitely have done some small topics, especially like a lot of the episodes when we split and do 2. It's really easy to research those in a week because they're so small. That's why we're doing 2 of them, that you can do your research in a day.
Right.
And it's not a big deal. But like for this, partly we went to bi-weekly because this was just so heavy.
I read a whole book.
Yeah. Gray read a whole book. I read 2/3 of that book.
Yeah.
Well, I listened to 2/3.
Yeah.
I got the book for free on Audible, okay?
Hey.
So
you gotta do what you gotta do.
And I do better listening to things anyways.
Yeah.
But this was definitely a heavy topic, and we'll be having more. I mean, you know, we've done a few even up to now. Like the RFK topic was a big one.
Yep.
Mothman was a big one.
Yep.
So, and we'll have, you know, we'll be doing Roswell. We'll be doing a lot more in-depth topics.
Yep.
That it's just good for us to have more time.
Right.
And, you know, Gray's getting married in a few months. I'm having a baby in a couple months.
Yeah.
This is a big year.
A lot going on.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Stay tuned for more Unknowable.
Yep. It's coming.
I'm excited.
I'm excited too. It's good. We just got over this was a big thing. Our first multi-part episode.
Yeah.
Which, again, there will probably be more. I bet Roswell in particular will probably be.
At least a 2-parter.
Yeah, probably a 2-parter. I doubt we'll have another 3-parter.
Yeah.
But again, this was like a very foundational episode. We've got a lot of stuff out there now. And you'll be hearing about this probably mentioned in every other episode from now on.
Literally every other episode.
And now you'll know what we're talking about. Yeah. All right. Well, that is the end of SKINWALKER.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for the next episode. Find us on Patreon. Find us on social media.
Subscribe, rate, and review.
Yeah. Do all that stuff.
Please.
All right. This is episode 27.
Sure.
I think. Of Unknowable.
Unknowable.
Love you.